It's official pick time. You clicked on this video for one reason and one reason only. You want to know who I think is going to win every single fight on UFC Vegas 102, Cannonier versus Rodrigues. And I take that very seriously. I get into the mindset that the cartel has a gun to my head, they're waterboarding me, and my life is on the line. If I don't give them the right pick, boom, we're done. That's what we're going to do for every single fight on the card. Remember, these are picks and not bets. If you want my bets, listen to the Best Bets show later in the week, or you can jump in the Homofight Picks Premium membership, which I have 4 bets out already, and my DFS plays as well. Link down in the description below to do so. Use code HeyJive, you'll get a free trial. Let's get into it with the picks. We're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. We started with the first fight of the night. We got some women's MMA. We got Julia Avila, who has entered soccer mom status, taking on Cavalcanti, who looks to be a decent little prospect in the women's bantamweight division, which is not deep, and she is currently number 13 with like 3 wins in the UFC, and they're not really against like the best competition, but Julia Avila is ranked number 12, so that says a lot. Avila needs to get takedowns in this fight, otherwise she is screwed. Considering Cavalcanti has a 90% takedown defense, I don't think Avila's going to be getting many takedowns, and so if she gets 1 takedown, she could maybe win a round, but I doubt it. And if she gets 2 takedowns, she could maybe win a round, but I doubt it. So I think Cavalcanti's probably got this one. I could even see a finish on the side of Cavalcanti if she really goes out there and tries to put it on Avila. Avila's soccer mom status ain't going to be looking good. Okay, so it's Cavalcanti for the official pick. No shocker there. Moving on. Don'Tale Mayes, Walter Walker. Don'Tale Mayes is a ranked heavyweight. What world are we living in? This man is brain dead. He's 6'6". I don't want to say he's super athletic, but he's more athletic than a lot of these heavyweights. And he just never puts it together. What's he got to do in this fight? He's got to outstrike Walter Walker. He's got to stuff takedowns, but the guy has a poor takedown defense. And Walter Walker, in all reality, is probably going to be able to get to those hips. He's probably going to be able to take him down. Now, on the feet, Walter Walker is not going to be able to strike with Don'Tale Mayes, which is saying a lot because Don'Tale Mayes is not the best striker, but Walter Walker ain't going to be looking to strike. Okay, he's a pretty solid wrestler for the heavyweight division, chains his takedowns pretty well, and once he gets you down to the ground, he's a big dude. He's going to hold you there. So Don'Tale Mayes is going to be in for a brutal 15 minutes, if he can't stuff takedowns, and I don't think he's going to be able to. So I'll take Walter Walker for the official pick. The odds on the screen are inaccurate. Walter Walker is the favorite, so UFC website, always on par with everything there. Walter Walker is the official pick. We move on. Vince Morales taking on Elijah Smith. Vince Morales, second stint in the UFC, comes back and fights Taylor Lapilus in Paris. It's a tough ask. Now he's taking on a UFC newcomer in the Apex when he trains in Vegas. He's a syndicate MMA guy, so it's right down the road in his homeland. Elijah Smith, 22, 23 years of age, very young in his MMA career. He's not a guy that has like a strong base in anything. I think he was like a high school wrestler, but that doesn't really mean anything. He's a good athlete, and he's come a long way with his skills. If you watch his early fights, he's looked pretty solid. He's going to be faster than Vince Morales. He's probably going to be more explosive than Vince Morales. But I think if Vince Morales uses his experience, uses his cage, how do I say this? If he's wise in there, he can win this fight. Okay, if he comes in with a good game plan of not exchanging in the pocket, putting the pressure on Elijah Smith, wearing on his gas tank, making him work, he will win this fight. So I'm going to take Vince Morales to get it done. I believe he should come into this with a good game plan. If he doesn't, he's stupid. But the game plan is pressure, chain takedowns, and just out-volume him. Because I don't think Elijah Smith can keep up, and he's not a guy that has faced a ton of adversity in his MMA career. So if you bring it to him, he's probably not going to know how to adjust with the lack of experience that he has. So Vince Morales is going to be the pick for me. Gabriel Bonfim taking on Chaos Williams. Chaos is always live for a KO, but you do have to look at his UFC career. And although he has some brutal knockouts, like he's not a death touch type of guy. He's been to many decisions before, and we just saw Gabriel Bonfim go to a decision with Angelosa. Angelosa is a very good striker, but is pretty small for the weight class and is very hittable. Now, Gabriel Bonfim, I think, is probably the better technical striker, better grappler, maybe as the better wrestling, but Chaos Williams is not really a guy that really looks to take the fight to the ground, and he's not a guy that gets takedowns shot on him either. So it's really tough to kind of compare their wrestling. But on the ground, Gabriel Bonfim is going to be a lot more dangerous than Chaos Williams. On the feet, I think Bonfim can can stand and strike with Chaos. Now, I do think Chaos is going to have to whip in some leg kicks. Like Bonfim, if you watch this fight with Losa, Losa was just head hunting, body hunting, not really going to the legs. And Chaos does have some nasty leg kicks. If he can get those going early on in the fight, then it could get interesting. But I think overall the skills are on the side with Gabriel Bonfim, younger guy, and I think he gets this one done. So I'll take Gabriel Bonfim for the official pick, and we move on. Rafael Estevam taking on Jesus Aguilar. T-Rex arms himself. I don't know how this guy has that many wins in the UFC, but he has found a way. And he's going to have to find a big way here against Rafael Estevam, who is a very, very solid wrestler for the flyweight division, very big. And when he has you on the ground, he's able to keep you there. And I think if he does get Jesus Aguilar to the ground, he will keep him there. But he's going to have to watch out for that guillotine choke. And Aguilar is going to be live for that guillotine choke for all 3 rounds. You know, if Estevam ragdolls him in the first 2 and then gets into the third and he's a little bit tired, shoots a sloppy takedown, boom, there's the guillotine and the win is over. So Jesus is going to be live for a finish on the ground at any point in time. But even if you're Estevam, you maybe don't even need to get takedowns in this fight. Like, you could easily outstrike Jesus Aguilar. He ain't going to be able to touch you. Okay, he's got T-Rex arms. He's got a little bit of power, but like not much. Like, he knocked out Chen and Ross. He's got a nice overhand right, but that's about it. So on the feet, Estevam's got him covered. In the wrestling department, Estevam's got him covered. Pure grappling, I think Estevam's probably still the better pure grappler, but he just has to watch out for that guillotine. I think it really just comes down to, can he avoid a guillotine? And he probably wins this fight. So I'll take Estevam for the official pick, and we can move on. Jared Gordon taking on the newcomer, Ruzibaev. So it's Nursultan Ruzibaev's brother, I believe. And watching this guy, I mean, this guy's record is pretty comparable to what Nursultan Ruzibaev's is. It's a bunch of cans. You know, the guys that he's lost to are usually when he's taking a step up in competition, fighting somebody that isn't a complete tomato can. He does have a nice overhand. He's dangerous on the feet. He will be looking for some submissions on the ground, but I don't really think this guy's that great. Like, Jared Gordon should beat this guy. I think if he doesn't beat him, he's probably going to get finished with something over the course of 15 minutes. Jared Gordon's definitely going to do the better work. He's going to be more consistent, more output. And Jared Gordon's not a bad wrestler, not a bad grappler. I don't really think Ruzibaev is going to be taking him down to hold him there. So I think Jared Gordon gets this one done. If it hits the scorecards, I would say at like 80, 90%. If it goes to 15 minutes, Jared Gordon's probably doing the better work. But he's going to have to watch out because Ruzibaev is an explosive guy. He's probably carrying some power. Going to be looking and hunting submissions. So he's got to mind his P's and Q's, but I think he gets this one done. Jared Gordon's going to be the official pick for me. And we can move on to the women's strawweight division. Angela Hill, all that hair. Whew. Taking on the Brazilian neck tat, most likely lesbian. Not going to make any assumptions, but I just did. Ketlin Souza is Andrade-esque, but you have to take into account how her fights have played out. I mean, her UFC debut, she gets submitted in the first round. Second fight's Marnik Man. She's a tomato can. She did what she needed to do there. Still went to a decision. And then she knocked down and submitted Yasmin Jauregui. But Jauregui was piecing her up and then got caught with a left hook, dropped, and choked out. So Ketlin Souza is very opportunistic. She's going to be landing a lot harder than Angela Hill is. But Angela Hill's experience in this matchup is going to be key. She's going to have to come in with a game plan of don't stand in the pocket and trade, get on your bike, pop the jab, pop the low kicks, get this girl a little bit frustrated, and wear her down. She's obviously going to be most dangerous in that first round. And if Ketlin Souza's over swinging, you know, Angela Hill's going to be able to mix in some takedowns as well. I would think Angela Hill has the wrestling advantage in this one, even though, you know, Angela Hill's not like the greatest wrestler, but she's decent there. I think she can mix in some takedowns, out-volume her, and get a win. But this is a split decision written all over it. So not one I'm going to be super invested in, but Angela Hill is going to be the pick for me. You know, this is a step down in competition. Angela Hill is kind of like the gatekeeper to the top 15 now. And I don't know that Ketlin Souza passes it, but she could easily do it. Brazilian neck tat. We've seen it done before. But for me, I'm just going to side with Angela Hill for the official pick. Moving on. Conor Matthews taking on Jose Delgado. Delgado looks to be the goods, but Conor Matthews is not a complete bum. Like, he's going to be able to go out there and throw hands with Delgado. He's probably going to be able to clip the chin of Delgado a few times. If Delgado is keen to it, he'll be able to eat it. Delgado showed some decent wrestling in his Contender Series fight as well. If he wants to go to that, I think it's there for him. You know, Conor Matthews is not the best wrestler, but a decent grappler. I think it's going to come down to if Delgado can stay clean from the outside, because he's going to have a range advantage. He's going to be able to use his kicks a lot more than Conor Matthews. It's just inside the pocket. He's kind of giving Conor Matthews a little bit more of a chance to hurt him. You know, if he's putting the pressure on and getting into these boxing combinations, then Conor Matthews could definitely clip him and hurt him in certain spots because Delgado is there to be hit. But from the outside, Delgado's a lot more rangier. Step in knees, kicks from the outside, mix in the wrestling when we get into the boxing scenarios, and I think he pulls this one off. So Jose Delgado is going to be the official pick for me, and we can move on to the middleweights. Adolfo Vieira taking on Andre Petroski. And I was leaning towards Andre Petroski, but I just can't do it, man. I just can't do it. I think Adolfo Vieira, for his jiu-jitsu base, his striking is actually pretty decent. You know, his boxing it doesn't look like a jiu-jitsu guy that's boxing, if that makes sense. Like, it looks pretty sharp. I don't think Petroski does well off of his back. You know, I was watching some of his grappling matches, and when he's on his back, obviously you're not as effective when you're on your back when you're a wrestler. And I think if Adolfo Vieira can get takedowns on Petroski, then he's going to be in his wheelhouse. And that's where Adolfo Vieira is at his best, is when he gets takedowns, he's on top, he's in control, and he can work towards his submissions. On the feet, you know, Petroski, not a bad striker, solid kicks. But once they're in boxing range, I think Vieira is just a little bit sharper. So on the feet, I'd give a slight edge towards Vieira. And, you know, if Petroski can get takedowns on Vieira, then it gets interesting, because how does Adolfo look on his back? Obviously, he's a great jiu-jitsu player, but I don't really think he's a guard player. Maybe he could give up minutes. But overall, I think I just got to go with Adolfo Vieira to get this one done over Petroski. He will be my official pick. I'll move on to another Brazilian taking on an Azerbaijanian. Not sure if that's the correct way to say it, but either way, it's a good matchup. Probably my favorite fight on the card. And I like both guys, and I think Bonfim is really skilled, but I think Sadykhov is going to come into this one how he always does, pushing a pace, a lot of pressure, a lot of action, can mix in takedowns, and he's just going to create a lot of chaos. And I don't know that Bonfim really thrives in the chaos. I think Bonfim likes to have his range, and when I say range, I don't mean like staying outside and like sticking and moving, but he likes to keep it a little bit slower so he can find his combinations and be comfortable in there. And I just don't know that Sadykhov is going to allow him to do that. He's going to be pushing the pace to where Bonfim has his back up against the cage, gets him a little bit uncomfortable. And Bonfim's a really solid striker. He's got some decent counters, but Sadykhov's very tough. I do think Sadykhov's going to get hit with some stuff in this fight, but we've seen throughout many of his fights, you know, he's going to be able to eat it and keep moving forward and keep the pressure on. A lot of dynamic stuff, big left hands, big hooks, big kicks, a lot of head kicks, southpaw versus orthodox, Sadykhov being the southpaw, so that body kick and head kick is going to be there. And Bonfim, I don't think really showed to be, if you look at his fight with BSD, he looked very uncomfortable very early. He was getting taken down. He was stuffing a lot of takedowns. He took down, or at least reversed BSD in that fight one time, but the pace that he put on Bonfim, he just didn't like it. And I think the pace that Nazim is going to put on Bonfim in this fight, it's going to make him very uncomfortable, and I think Nazim's going to be able to take advantage of it and get a win. So I'll take Nazim Sadykhov for the official pick. Moving on to the middleweights, we got Edmen Shahbazyan taking on Dylan Budka. A lot of people are down on Budka, and I agree. I don't think he's that great. More of a pure wrestler with not much stand-up, not much ground and pound, virtually no jiu-jitsu. So there's not a ton to like from Budka. But on the Shahbazyan side, if he doesn't nuke him in the first, then it gets interesting. But the thing is, it's a 3-round bout. Edmen's going to be looking great in the first round. He might try to pace himself just because he knows he's better than this guy, and he doesn't try to nuke him in the first, but he's going to be a lot more dynamic on the feet. Probably going to be able to hurt Budka in the first round. Then we get into round 2. And I think Shahbazyan will be there for the first 7.5 to 8, maybe 9 minutes. And I think he wins the first 2 rounds. And then the third round comes, and Dylan Budka needs a finish against the gassed Edmen Shahbazyan. And I don't think he can do that. Like, I don't think Dylan Budka can find a finish on even a gassed Edmen Shahbazyan. So I think Shahbazyan wins this one. He could nuke him early, but even if it does extend later in the fight. I think Shahbazyan will have enough to where he wins the first 2 rounds. And I don't really see Budka like with a come from behind victory of like just smashing on him. Like, I just don't see it. Never seen it from Budka. I'm not gonna assume that I can see it from him on Saturday. So Shahbazyan's gonna be the official pick for me. Move on to the co-main event. Cavalcanti and Youssef Zalal. A very wide line, but I think Youssef Zalal is the rightful favorite just because he's a very smart fighter, doesn't take risks, and you can outstrike Cavalcanti with footwork, with volume, and just not being there in boxing exchanges and mixing in takedowns. And that's really what it comes down to. Like, Cavalcanti just got ragdolled by Aljo. Aljo's obviously a bit of a different beast than Youssef Zalal, but Zalal does mix in his takedowns very well. Like, he's not a guy that's going to go out and pressure you and shoot takedown after takedown, but he's going to time him. He's going to time him very well to the point where he lulls you to sleep with his outside footwork, with him just kind of teeping away at you, jabbing and moving, and then you want to try to close the distance, and he clinches you up, trips you, takes you down, gets your back, and maybe submits you. I don't really see him submitting Cavalcanti. I think it'll probably be a decision, but I think Youssef Zalal gets his hand raised. So Youssef will be the official pick for me. And we can move on to the main event. We got Gregory Robocop taking on Jared Cannonier, and I think this is an interesting fight because Cannonier has been fighting some of the best guys in the division. It's obviously he's on a decline. He's almost, 41 years of age, and Robocop's kind of on the incline, but not nearly the level that Jared Cannonier's been fighting. Caio Borralho, Nasruddin Imavov, those are tough guys that I would pick to beat Gregory Robocop in a fight as well. So there's the weathered Cannonier versus the surging Robocop. And I think stylistically, it's going to come down to durability for one, which at times Gregory has shown durability issues, but Cannonier has also shown a rapid decline in durability throughout his last 2 fights. Like, he's just not responding to getting hit the same. He gets hit, he kind of gets stunned, kind of gets wobbled. Very weird. He was just in a war with Caio Borralho. It's not looking good for the durability for Cannonier. And then it comes down to cardio. So it's durability and cardio, because I think stylistically and skill-wise, like, Cannonier's a very sharp striker. But I don't think his power is, like, lights out like it once was. I think Robocop doesn't really have like big one-shot power. It's more of like 3 or 4 in a row of like big shots to get you out of there. So it comes down to durability and cardio. Who can take the punches better? Who's going to be able to outlast one another? Right now, I think I just got to go with Gregory Rodrigues, because I think he has that forward pressure to put Cannonier on the back foot to where he can be the one landing the bigger shots. It's tough to land big shots when you're on the back foot, and Gregory's a guy that rarely takes a step backwards. He's a guy that wants to come forward and try to wear you down and put you away. I think that's probably what happens here. So I'll take Gregory Robocop Rodrigues for the official pick, and that'll do it for the video. Please like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be back here with the Best Bets show later in the week and the live call-in show on Friday with Maddie Betts. Till next time, hey, Job Picks. We out.